We have lost 2018, 2020, 2022, no red wave that never came. We got trounced last night in 2023.
I'm sick of Republicans losing.
Look, the people there cheering for losing in the Republican Party. We've become a party of losers at the end of the day.
He was really good at that part of the debate. It's kind of surprising to hear them admit it. This was last night at the Republican debate as the candidates appeared to want to look like they're grappling with their party's streak of losing, capped by Tuesday's, what did he say, trouncing in the elections around the country this week. Resounding victories for Democrats and Democratic policy positions all across the country, driven by overwhelming enthusiasm for abortion health care access and anger and frustration toward the continuing efforts by Republicans to criminalize them and take them away. Most notably in Ohio, where a ballot initiative to enshrine abortion access won in huge numbers. Axios reports that in response, quote, Democrats are rushing to get similar measures on the ballot next year in key states such as Arizona, Nevada, and Florida, after voters explicitly endorsed abortion rights via ballot initiatives in 7 states since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade last year in California, Kansas, Kentucky, Michigan, Montana, Vermont, and now Ohio. Despite the will of the voters being abundantly crystal clear to all of us now, Republicans, instead of figuring out how to land on positions that don't enrage even their own voters and cost them election after election, are trying to, I don't know, override it. Case in point, in Michigan, anti-abortion organizations and Republican lawmakers have filed a lawsuit in federal court challenging the legality of the voter-approved constitutional amendment enshrining abortion access in that state. Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson is back with us. Basil's here as well. Is this going anywhere?
I mean, look, if at first you don't succeed, just double down on the losing strategy is sort of was my impression.
I was a Republican. That's sort of what we do.
The irony of this is an initiative, an amendment that was supported overwhelmingly by voters on both sides of the aisle just a year ago. And so now you're going to bring a lawsuit as some sort of winning, successful legal or political strategy to try to overturn the will of the voters that was abundantly clear just a few months ago. It's nonsensical. I think we do have to see it as part of, I believe, a national strategy to minimize or delegitimize ballot initiative efforts that have been proven to be very successful, particularly in bringing us forward in pro-democracy reforms, to delegitimize those as some sort of air of superiority that lawmakers elected maybe through a gerrymandered process know better than the citizens that elect them. That's what's underwriting, in my view, this legal argument. I don't think it's going to succeed, but we'll see how it plays out.
It's interesting. So I watched the anti-democratic measures because before Ohio enshrined, I think 60%, I think it got almost close to 60%. Ohio's a state where President Biden is polling about 40%. So President Biden's position on reproductive health care is actually 20 points more popular. He has sort of 20 points of running room to try to persuade and appeal to those voters. But before that was on the ballot Tuesday, there was an anti-democratic measure in Ohio that would have changed the rules. I feel like voters have become much savvier about anti-democratic moves. And I wonder I feel like if gerrymandering were on the ballot now, but that voters understand that when a party can't win on the substance, they rig the rules. And that party is the Republican Party over and over and over again. How do you think in Michigan that message was successfully communicated to voters?
Very simply and succinctly. Democracy was on the ballot. Fundamental rights and freedoms were on the ballot in 2020, in 2022. We said that again and again. And frankly, I think they're on their ballot again in 2024. And the more candidates can be aligned in just breaking down the choice in those very simple terms, we've seen voters respond because it turns out male, female, black, white, people don't want their rights taken away from them. And if the election is about that, then the Democrats will win. And that's what we saw the last several cycles.
What do you attribute the results on Tuesday to?
Well, listen, abortion's on the ballot, whether it's technically on the ballot or not. Every voter in this last year or so has been motivated by that issue because of the concern that if you take this right away, where does it stop? It doesn't. It does. There's no.
Because that's what they said. That's what Clarence
exactly
Thomas
right.
says.
That's exactly right. And, you know, if the strategy was for the last 10 to 20 years to make sure that state legislatures get flipped and gubernatorial mansions get flipped so that we can move a lot of these issues to the state level, well, this is the impact of that, right? Because if even if your legislature is not going to support an issue like this, we'll just have everybody out there and voting. Right? We're going to actually make this decision with our feet. And that is actually, it's beautiful to see, because what it does is something that I've long been concerned about. Even in off-year elections, how do we create a culture of civic engagement and voting where issues like this, not just who's on the ballot, but what's on the ballot, that we're consistently engaged in. And if I can make a quick point,
Sure.
This is a fantastic time to push out Kamala Harris to be talking about this.
Oh, she was out on election day.
Exactly
She's great
right.
on this issue.
Exactly right. Because to me, and this is owing to...
Actually, let me correct. She wasn't just out on Tuesday. She's been out all year. She's been out since the decision was overturned.
That's right. And if you kind of put what happened, you kind of put Tuesday together with the polling, what that suggests to me is that the Democratic message is absolutely on point. And for all of the questions and concerns about Kamala Harris, she embodies a kind of intersectionality that is the future of our party.
Can I say it like a Republican?
What's that?
Joe Biden's position and Kamala Harris's position on abortion is a supermajority position.
That's right.
I mean, I think Tuesday night put Ohio in play.
That's right.
And I think Kamala Harris is as good of a messenger on that issue as anyone in the Democratic coalition.
That's absolutely right. And she can talk about a whole host of other issues that are winning messages for the Democratic Party. So, you know, for all of the concern about her and her relatability, her authenticity, she is the future of the party.
Where is that? Where does that come from?
You know, my gut is that it's part race, part misogyny, but also if you think about her background, she was a prosecutor for pretty much her career. 95% of prosecutors in this country are white. So if you are a prosecutor, for example, who has to talk about being tough on crime, but also sensitive to criminality, it's a very fine line that you have to walk. And I think she spent a good chunk of her career doing that. But now she's in a position where she can't necessarily go out ahead of Joe Biden. But if we look at the campaign ad that for the reelect that the Biden team put out, she was pretty prominent in it, which suggests to me that if Biden's not going to be the face, she will be the face, and she should be.
I mean, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's position on abortion wins in Kentucky. It wins in Ohio. It wins in Kansas. It wins in North Carolina. I think that the tectonic shift it's definitely been underappreciated by Republicans. I don't know that Democrats grasp it. I think Michigan they did. I mean, I think that was central. I think Josh Shapiro ran on it in Pennsylvania. But I don't think nationally Democrats are squeezing all the potential out of the issue.
I think we're going to see that, though, and I think I'd add democracy to that as well. The fact that, again, the choice in the presidential race is likely going to come down to, will we have a democracy in the future or not? If it is, as predicted, Trump versus Biden again. And so we have to, I think all of us, whether candidates or leaders, make that clear to the American voters. And if we can collectively and concisely do that, just as frankly we've done in 2020 and in 2022, then we'll see voters side with protecting their fundamental rights and freedom and protecting our democracy.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, I feel like we orient ourselves around the threats. It's a pretty incredible sort of beacon of hope that voters get all these things, that voters get the intersection of choice and democracy and voter suppression and all of that. It really is.
Yeah, I would say that's the ray of light that breaks through all the, whether it's the threats, the confusion, the chaos, the lies, everything we've seen. The ray of light is our democracy's actually gotten stronger in many ways.
Voters get it.
Yeah.
And I would just say very quickly, listening to Senator Scott yesterday trying to make a distinction between a 15-week limit and a 15-week ban is the most ridiculous thing.
Again, I haven't talked so much about this is what Republicans, they take a substantive issue problem and they describe it as a message problem. It's not a message.
It's not a message problem. They just don't get that.
Correct.